Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is a sad day in sprint car racing. You probably have all seen the heartbreaking news that the original outlaw, the legend, Bobby Allen, unfortunately passed away over the weekend. I'm going to do my best to not get emotional in this video. I just thought it would only be right with the impact that Bobby left on my life and everything I have going on. We just had a great weekend in Tulare. We won, and we got stuff going on now into the off season. But I wanted to just take a second, stop everything I was doing, and pay tribute to someone that really changed my career. But not only that, not only the amazing race car driver that Bobby Allen was, the team owner, what he did for sprint car racing, I wanted to also just talk about the human that he was, and he was just such an amazing person. And I think that's seen all across social media. I mean, I've just been reading Bobby's stories and looking at videos and stuff all morning long. So anyway, just to kind of get started, to pay tribute to my friend Bobby. Of course, getting into sprint car racing around 2017, 2018, I started to see Shark Racing stories. I, of course, followed the Outlaws and had, dreams. And I actually watched them in one of their first years on the road. They stopped here at Southern Oregon Speedway, 2 cars out of 1 trailer, the 1S and the 1A. They just had an amazing story. And as I went through my career, I had no idea what was going to happen in 2023 and the relationship that I ended up forming with Bobby then. Of course, they needed a driver for the 1A at the time, which then turned into the 1T. And at the Knoxville Nationals, the final night in 2023, Bobby stopped by at my trailer, rode up on his moped. He didn't even know. The funny thing was, he was looking for a driver, and he was wanting to hire me, Tanner Holmes, and he had no idea who I even was. Like, he didn't know. Like, I think he actually stopped by originally and started talking to one of my crew members because he had no idea what I looked like. And so he wanted to talk to me. We talked for basically 30 or 45 seconds. If any of you know Bobby, he's got that, like, he talks with a lot of excitement, and he talks with a lot of speed and almost a little bit under his breath. So when you haven't been around him at first, it's a little hard to understand. And within 20, 30 seconds, he said he needed a driver. We talked, and everything sounded great, and he rode off on his moped just like that.
I think you go back out and go to Dallas and go to Charlotte.
Gotcha.
So anyway,
And we we're just new at these big tracks.
no, I know, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not. I mean, look at us. Did he not run our car where he got the ball yet?
Absolutely.
You get to say some money?
Absolutely. No,
It was wild. In 30 seconds, I had an outlaw ride, and again, he just rode off with his day, and yeah. So then from there, I got the opportunity to go on the road with them for 25 races and be a part of Shark Racing. He and the rest of their entire family, I have nothing but great things to say. It was such an honor to be a part of. Bobby treated me like his son, treated me like family, treated Carly, the rest of my family, like their family. Like, it was just, yeah. Like, and they didn't have to do that, but they really totally embraced us for that part of the season, and gave me every opportunity on track to do well. There's just so many memories and stories from our time together. I think back right away to Jackson, our first weekend with the Outlaws. We went quick time, we ran on the podium, and I remember that night we did it on basically a junk right rear tire. Like, it was old, it was used, it was flipped, and he was so proud that we went quick time. And I remember him telling me, you don't need new tires to go fast. I remember him talking about beginner's luck our first night, how well it went, and joking with me, poking at me that it was beginner's luck, and we'll see how the rest of the season went. That next weekend in Grand Forks, I remember, again, another tire story. He was talking about how they were super over budget, spending too much on tires, so we didn't have as many used ones. We didn't have what we needed, so we walked down to Gravel and Brad Sweet's pit and brought them a little bit of beer money and bought all their used tires, and we mounted them up that night and we raced. Just a prime example of doing so much with so much less, but also not making excuses about it. Like, and that's so inspirational of Bobby. I think he wasn't a victim of like not having as much. Like, he just found a way, and he made a way. So we had those good runs. I remember Skagit. I almost swept the entire night, fell back in the feature, started on the pole, fell back and ran 4th. Track was super rough. It rained a ton, and I remember coming in. I had smoked the wall because it was super rough, and I still finished the race. Like I said, ran top 5, one of my better finishes with the Outlaws. applause, right? I mean, fourth, just outside the podium. And I remember him leaning in the car and said, "You did good, kid. You did tear up my right rear wheel though in Jacob's ladder." And he was serious about that. Like, he wasn't mad. He was happy we ran well, but he was acknowledging, hey, we got to take care of equipment. And that's how he had made it to that point, right? And I tore up his right rear wheel in his Jacob's ladder. Again, he was just a great person to be around. On our bad nights, he was there to pick you up. On our good nights, he was, you know, happy, excited, you know, felt like things were going to plan. I think of a lot of our funny moments. You know, I learned spending time around him that he spent a lot of time on the phone, a lot of times on speaker. Like, we'll all be sitting next to each other and he'll just be on a phone call on speaker and everyone can hear. And I think of him always talking about the future, like, you know, his plan for Shark Racing, and talk about how you always start with like maintaining, and then you make a little bit more money, and then you can have growth, and then you have your expansion in your future. And he always talked about things in steps. In doing it over time. And again, like, he always talked about the future, even to when I just seen him at Eldora. I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm looking at him, he was laying on his couch. I went in his motorhome to check on him, and he's laying there and he's talking about a 5-year plan for Shark Racing. And I'm looking at him, and, you know, he's 81 years old, and I'm like, man, this guy he has the will to want to do it. Like, he just loved it. Like, that right there. I mean, and I mean this respectfully, you know, I mean, I'm looking at Bobby, and I'm like, man, you know, I know he's getting older and everything, and he's still talking about 5 years down the road. Again, that just showed how much he loved sprint car racing. Like, he just loved every minute of what he did. He was doing exactly what he wanted to be doing. So yeah, I mean, the phone calls, and he always, another funny thing, he always would he called them butt calls, butt dialed. He butt dialed me more than anybody else in my life combined. You know, maybe once a month I'd get random calls at 4 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. I'd call him back, "Hey Bobby, what's up?" And, "Oh, my bad, I didn't mean to call you," you know, so just funny stuff like that. And then he also would take time still after my time with Shark Racing. He would actually call me and check in on my results, and after I'd win a race, or, you know, ask what I'm up to, and we just check in. And again, it is really sad. Even yesterday after I won at Tulare, I had thought before we had got the news, I was like, man, Bobby might call me, and I almost called him, you know, so because we just kind of had that back and forth even after our time we spent together. Just thinking of all the different things, you know, again, just back to the, you know, how he always did so much with way less, you know, seeing his shop and seeing how he worked, and seeing his trailer and how they built it. You know, he built it himself with his own hands and designed it, and again, just like, you know, he gave me all those lessons of just of how to always make it happen, and again, how to always find a way. I'll just always be so grateful for that. And again, just to touch on Bobby again as a person, I mean, he was just very kind. He always made you laugh, always made you smile. And I'll always just miss those interactions. You know, there's not a lot of people. I mean, you're so focused when you're at the races, right? And you're going just from your trailer and walking around. Like, for me, I'm always so focused, but I always did try to go out of my way to go say hi and see him and talk and I always knelt down. He was always sitting in his chair. I always kneel down to his level and just have some great conversations. So yeah. That's some of my talk on Bobby Allen, and I just again appreciate the time he gave me, an opportunity to run the 1T, and even exploring options. You know, when we were talking about trying to run 3 cars going into that next season, and unfortunately it just didn't work out. But again, he just always put forth that effort, and he just wanted it. He wanted it so bad. Again, he treated us all like family. I just got a chance. I got off the phone with my younger sister. I'm really happy. She is sad. She was actually supposed to meet with Bobby today. She was going to work for them for a couple weeks while she was out there helping a Macri's team see what kind of help they needed between their cars, and was supposed to meet with him today. And actually, the day before he passed on Saturday, she sat with him in the stands at the National Open, and I'm really thankful that she got that last time with him. And she said it was just like normal, you know, just joking around, talking about all the good moments we had together, and you know, Tanner being in the car, and us working on stuff, and you know, trying to get Carly to come work for Shark Racing in 2026 and in the future, because remember, he always was looking 3, 4, 5 years down the line, talking about motors and cars and trailers, and again, like, just how organized he was in his head and knew everything up here you know, again, is amazing, whether it was numbers or cars or engines or parts, like, yeah. So anyway, Bobby Allen, thank you. Everyone at Shark Racing, thank you. I just, I guess I thought for my sake, honestly, just me getting to make a little video like this tributing Bobby would only be, would just be the right thing, and it'd help me. So, yeah, I think the right note I wanted to end the video is I just kind of thought about, I was thinking again, like how I talked about how Bobby was such an amazing person. You know, there really, in all my time, as I talked with people about him, I never really heard anyone say a bad thing. You know, of course, you'll never make everyone happy. That's the saying in life, right? So I'm sure there's people that, you know, weren't necessarily his fan, but man, he had a lot of fans, and I don't really think there was ever anyone, again, that had a bad thing to say. And I just think that's so amazing. That's an incredible attribute. He just, you know, even the people that weren't his fan, they were inspired by him. They watched him work, and they knew that you weren't going to put him down. So yeah, anyway, he's just an incredible person, amazing race car driver. What I would have done to be there at the 1990 Knoxville Nationals and see him win, and just, and again, just how he was with his family and his people and his race team is just all stuff, again, that, you know, you think of to want to be better in your own life, right? And so, yeah, just an inspiration. So thank you guys for watching. I wanted to share that with you, and just sending all my thoughts and prayers to the entire Allen and Schuchart and their whole group, and wishing those guys the best. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.